Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Week 3 quarterbacks for DraftKings is what we're looking at in this episode. Jason covered this for us. How's it going, Jason?
Doing good. Pretty good quarterback week this week once again.
I see a few quarterbacks listed here that I might have a tiny bit of interest in, especially on both sides. Potentially, maybe an Andrew Luck going, doing pretty well this week potentially, and maybe a Phillip Rivers doing potentially, some things in that matchup there.
Yeah, you look at my cash game plays, they're both from the same game. It's just a matter of what salary you want to spend at. We'll jump in. Phillip Rivers, I rank a little bit higher than Luck, not because of talent or because of options or anything like that. It's just because of the price. 6,700 from 7,600 is a noticeable difference. Rivers going up against the secondary there that is pretty injured. He's going to have to keep up with Luck and company. Colts are allowing the 8th highest yards per attempt. I really like the Travis Benjamin, Tyrell Williams. I think Gates is in play. You got a cheap stack there that you can go with. You can even pair up. You don't even have to pair up. I think Rivers is just the guy you want to get exposure to. Pretty high team total on the road there. That defense is just awful.
And if you guys don't know, the reason Jason put Rivers over Luck today is because he is open about hating Luck. He's hated Luck his entire career since Stanford. And so that's like, there's no other reason other than, the pure biased hate of this. Well, actually he's a Colts fan and he likes Luck, but no, Luck's my Luck's my number one this week. But yeah, this game in general, as far as Rivers goes, this is just a great matchup. As you mentioned, the 8th highest yards per attempt. That's a good little nugget there. Travis Benjamin looks tremendous. He's going to continue to be that explosive, speed guy. Tyrell Williams looks awesome if they can get him a few more, He's just another guy you can dump it off to and then have him go for 50 yards like he did last week. So certainly upside there. Dexter McCluster this week, I can't imagine that will be too much of an impact, but certainly like the running backs out of the backfield as well. Gates, going to like him for the red zone. I mean, if anyone on this team, I like Rivers the most out of everyone on that team.
I think so too, and I think if you want to get your San Diego exposure, it sits with with Rivers there at 6,700 because you know what, he's cheap. You can pay up at other options. You don't necessarily have to go anyone with them because I think he's just going to give you a nice 250 passing yards, 2 to 3 touchdowns, even more for upside. So I mean, you can play him in GPPs. I think he's just going to be the highest owned guy because of that salary and because of the matchup.
And with Melvin Gordon's new role and salary, I think you can definitely stack them and feel really, really comfortable about that upside in that offense.
Yeah, definitely. And looking on the other side here, I mean, you got Luck, obviously about 1,000 more expensive. They have the 2nd highest team total on the slate behind Green Bay. You just look at this defense, 2nd most fantasy points per game to quarterback so far, 4th most passing yards per game. They're not going to run the ball. They're going to throw the ball, and they're going to have to throw it. We saw that in week 1. We even saw it in week 2, but obviously that was just a horrible matchup. I can't see any other way that this game doesn't just turn out to be a back and forth affair between passing attacks. I really can't. Obviously, we'll look at New Orleans and New York last time, and we expected the same thing, and that didn't happen. But I think just these two defenses are just incapable of kind of stopping each other.
And we're going to be covering Colts, offensive skill players later in the week, which is a good thing because then we might get some clarity on Dante Moncrief. But might be a tough week for Hilton, Dwayne Allen. Again, this is another offense where quarterback more than the actual pieces around him.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously the Moncrief news would kind of dock down Luck a little bit. I think Philip Dorsett could be a sneaky play if Moncrief sits out in terms of a boomer bust week. But, when you got superstar Jack Doyle out there, I don't think you need much else.
I certainly agree. And you joke, I might be throwing him in,
He's not a bad secondary option. No,
he's really not. So, yeah, I mean – I don't know. It's what Andrew Luck's got to work with, and we've seen him pretty much maximize what he's got. So I do like that. But anyway, on to some GPP quarterbacks. Derek Carr versus Titans defense. What do you see in there?
I like it a lot. I think one, because the ownership is going to be really low for Derek Carr, 6,900. Obviously, he's 200 more than Rivers, a couple hundred less than Luck. Going on the road, the team total really isn't that eye-popping towards people just looking based on Vegas. Been really efficient, completing 70% of his passes, has nearly thrown for 300 yards in each game. I just look at this Tennessee defense. They're not a good defense. They played Sean Hill in week 1. Matthew Stafford should have had a couple touchdowns. There was a couple penalties calling them back. They were horrible inside the red zone. I just look at Carr and I just think he's so sneaky. I mean, he has 300 yards upside. He has 2 to 3 touchdown upside. You compare him with a Cooper, who I think is a great play this week. I just think Tennessee, if you're looking solely based on 2016 stats, they're going to be like, oh, they're decent against quarterbacks and receivers, but they're really not.
Definitely agree. I think this is a nice Amari Cooper week. Crabtree obviously been playing well. So yeah, those two are really the guys. I think that's a great high-end stacking group. We tend to see, Cooper pelted with targets in matchups like this. So I really love that stack together. Yep. And Tannehill you mentioned here. And, I think sometimes you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm gonna do the Dolphins this week, and I think this is one of those weeks. And what do you got for me?
6,200. Obviously, I still think the ownership is going to be low with Rivers right there. I think that's just one of the benefits of having Rivers at 6,700. One of the reasons I didn't do a value play this week, because Rivers is a value play. But Tannehill, I mean, you look here, I don't like the Dolphins' run game. I don't expect them to run the ball a lot, even though I do expect them to be up. Cleveland Browns pretty average against quarterbacks so far this season, but we know that secondary is awful. Carson Wentz and Joe Flacco both had decent success against them already. Look at last week, Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, Jarvis Landry, all 90% plus of the snaps. You like that because you like that core around him. And I like Jarvis Landry's price. I know you talked about Devontae Parker yesterday. I like Parker a lot for the price. I think this is just kind of a cheap all-around stack that you can go with. I don't play Tannehill on his own. I think I'm going to pair him with a Landry or a Parker. I can't just see him. He's not like a Rivers or a Luck where I just get that exposure and leave it alone. But 5th highest team total on the slate. I just think in this matchup, obviously we looked last week, that was more of a game flow type thing, with them just kind of chasing the game pretty much from the get-go. 6,200, I just think, he can pay off that pretty easily. I think there's a lot of upside and a lot of stacking upside as well.
And he's got a little giddy up out of the, if he wants to scramble. So we definitely like that as well. I could also see myself getting my exposure to Tannehill through Landry and Parker. But at the same time, I do like this matchup. I like stacking both of them with him. 20-point upside certainly there against this Browns team. I love it. No running back to really speak of other than Jay Ajayi, and I don't really love him all that much. So, yeah, this is just all systems go for Tannehill, Landry, and
Parker.
And you know who I'm looking at? Kenny Stills might be a weird one.
He's boom or bust. I mean, he's got that deep threat.
Might be a weird one. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Joe Flacco, your last guy here against the Jags. Flacco, I mean, making it work with Mike Wallace and Dennis Pitta so far.
Yeah, and I think you look after his last game and you saw Mike Wallace continue to succeed. You saw Pitta came in and had big targets, double digits. You look at this matchup against the Jags, they have not been good. I was expecting him to be a little bit better against San Diego, and they were not. They've allowed the 3rd highest QB rating so far this season. This is more just kind of a deep GPP play. He's the cheapest on the board out of the guys I'm considering this week. And obviously, I think just because there are so many cheap options, DraftKings pricing really makes it easy to just kind of look in that 6K to 6,900 range and pay for a quarterback in that route. This game could be a shootout as well. I know Baltimore's defense has looked better, but they've played 2 opponents that really haven't had a lot of offensive firepower. So if Jacksonville is able to get out and throw the ball well, you could see Allen Robinson have a bigger week this week than he has so far in the previous 2 games. Once again, like Tannehill, this is a poor run game. You saw Forsett, West haven't had any real success. Flacco's just going to throw the ball, and I think, once again, low ownership in terms of stacking power, you can do that as well.
Yep, I like the Flacco Pitta stack a lot this week on both sites actually, but certainly looking at that here, I think Flacco's in that Trustman offense. He loves passing to the running back too, so yeah, certainly a lot of options there. I like Flacco as a standalone guy.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of cheap options.
Certainly. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully that gives you a quick recap of what we're looking at. Certainly looking to target Luck and Rivers. But beyond that, thanks for tuning in. As always, check out Daily Fantasy Cafe for all our great tools and content. And don't be afraid, if you like the video, give us a little likesy poo at the bottom there. Is it down there? It might be down there or it might be down here. Or I don't know where it actually is, but it might be somewhere. Give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. We will see you in week 4. Thanks for tuning in, guys.